Last 5 seconds. Ready? Yes. Start. I am extremely grateful to the authorities of the university for the distinction it has conferred on me. I accept it in all humility, but I must confess that I do feel proud of it for two main reasons. Firstly, it makes me, who comes from a remote corner of this country in the northeast, an alumnus of this university located in the far south. Secondly, it enables me to experience the horticulture and educational traditions of our country, because this university located at the meeting place of the Tamil Sangam and in close proximity to the great temple of Meenakshi inherits and symbolizes the glory of ancient India as well. I therefore feel overwhelmed at this moment by the remarkable unity and identity which this country has been able to maintain throughout the centuries in spite of her vast size and immense diversity. I need hardly dilate upon the significance of national integration, and India must live before India can grow and successfully tackle the immense problems of poverty, ignorance and ill health that face her at present. National integration is obviously as basic to her survival as it is for her development. The more important issues therefore relate to the programs which must be developed to promote national integration both at the individual, group and state levels, and the measures that must be adopted to curb the evil forces that hinder its promotion. It is these that I shall briefly discuss. The foundation of national integration must necessarily be laid in the minds and hearts of all the citizens of India, the millions of people who live in this country, and they have important cognitive, affective, and cognitive aspects. The cognitive aspects imply that every Indian citizen must know what India is and has been. He must be broadly aware of its long and impressive history, of the majestic civilization that grew on this soil, of the various peoples that came here and made their own unique contribution to the splendid mosaic that Indian culture is, of the great religious movements and men and women that were born or developed here, of our age old contacts with the outside world, including our contribution to world civilization as well as what we have gained from the culture of other peoples, of the basic unity that keeps us together in spite of all the immense diversity of our people, races, languages and cultures. As with every other country, all this pageant of beauty, splendor, greatness, achievement and still unexplored potential for future growth is also mixed with several deficiencies, failures and unseemly things of which one rightly feels ashamed. Every Indian citizen must therefore be also aware of the weaknesses of our social arrangements, of our failures and mistakes, and of drawbacks and limitations which have created the tremendous problems of poverty and inequality in our midst. Finally, every one of us must also have a vision of the greater India that we are determined to create, an India which is non-aligned, friendly and helpful to all, secular, socialist and democratic. We must also have a clear concept of the new society. We are striving to create a society based on the values of equality, justice, freedom and the dignity of the individual. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru has described how he was helped to acquire this comprehensive and panoramic knowledge of our past, present and future in his memorable book The Discovery of India. This unimitable phase, The Discovery of India, describes beautifully the cognitive aspects of national integration, and it is our responsibility to ensure that every Indian child is helped gradually to discover India for himself or herself. In this, our educational system has obviously a very important role to play, and the work of the school in this rapid regard must be continued outside through non-formal channels and the mass media. The effective or emotional aspects of national integration are even more important. It is of course essential to discover and know India, but mere knowledge is hardly enough, and one must also learn to love one's motherland just as one loves one's own mother. This love will naturally flow from knowledge. One begins to love India as one gets to know her, and one's love for her deepens as one's knowledge of her becomes detailed and comprehensive. In due course, this love grows and encompasses things, men, and values. We begin to love the lofty mountains, dark forests, green valleys, fertile plains, lovely rivers, hill stations, and shores, the flora and fauna, the religious shrines, and the wonderful historical mountains. Our love then reaches the immense variety of people in our country, their languages, cultural traditions, and achievements. We love even more the great sons of India and the patriots who lived and died for its